This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
He is the man, the myth, the legend. That is Ira Winderman. How are you doing, Ira? You feeling good?
You know what, Big O, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I was sitting there last night watching both of those games, the Philly game and the Milwaukee game, and you just wanted it to end because you never know what's going to happen. And for a night, because whether it's our Slomin's Home Security Inside the Paint on Wednesdays or Acura Pembroke Pines Reports on Monday and Friday, we've been talking about a Heat opponents and who they're going to play and how it might play out. And for one moment, I think it was really important for Heat Nations, Heat fans, just to enjoy the fact that they're number one. The playoffs are going to change everything. And it'll become a matter of, who you play and how your seed does. I've always felt the NBA doesn't do enough to reward a number one seed. I mean, you don't even get the banner. The banner at FTX Arena is for the team that wins the playoffs conference championship, not the regular season championship. You know this, because you're a big soccer guy also. In football, you're at the top of the table, and that's it. You've mastered the 6-7 months, whatever it is. The Miami Heat have mastered from mid-October to mid-April, and that's laudable, and that's something that should be praised. And I think today, forget about Brooklyn, forget about everyone else, enjoy the moment, because it is something special.
Yep, you're right about that. Although, I took the 6 from the Celtics, and they easily could have won it for me because I knew the Celtics were going to lose that game because that's kind of who they are.
Sure.
I still because there's a part of me that doesn't trust them, but man, that Daniel Tice play at the end.
Wow, yes.
It's like, my brother, you need to give it to a skilled person at that moment.
Oh, it was a wide open layup, though. It reminded me of that. Remember the Jimmy Butler alley-oop from Bam Adebayo in Atlanta? It was an inbounds pass. They threw it to Jimmy. He just had to make a layup. Sometimes you butcher a layup. But I was like, honestly, I'm a fan every now and then. People know that if they've ever seen me watch my beloved New York Rangers, but I could be a fan in playoff races. And as soon as he missed it, I just barked out for no reason. And his name is Daniel Tice.
Yes.
Just at that moment, that's what I needed, because I don't like all these algorithms and figuring out if this happens and then that happens. And that's what these next 2 days will be about. Because you know what, Big O, as much as we know they might face the Nets or the Cavs or the Hornets or the Hawks, you're also looking to see who finishes 2 and 3, the teams you would avoid in the next round. Right now, Boston and Milwaukee are 2 and 3. Good. Go play each other in the second round. I'd rather deal with the leftover of Toronto and Philadelphia, for example. So right. Everything is sort of in a good spot right now. We see how it plays out, and that's what makes tonight fascinating. The Heat have nothing to play for. I do believe, matter of fact, if you just caught me with my glasses when I was going into the segment, I was checking the injury report. At 11:30, no changes from the Heat. I would expect to come out every half hour on the hour. I would expect at some point to see all kinds of names in that injury report.
Oh, for sure.
But if they beat the Hawks, it'll make it more likely the Nets wind up in that 7-8 game playing for the 7th seed. So the Heat do have a horse in tonight's race at FTX Arena, even though it doesn't impact their own seeding. Look, the last thing Eric Spoelstra or Chris Quinn, if he's filling in, is going to say, well, we'd much rather play the Hawks. You never say that. But, you know what they're thinking, right?
Of course. But the beauty of the Heat also is they're deep enough that they can win this game without some of their key guys. Yes. So that's the beauty of what, like tonight, I'm going to be watching, and I wouldn't be surprised if they win because, a guy like Caleb Martin, is he going to play tonight?
That level of player will play. I think you might see no Lowry. Obviously, Tucker we know is out. Maybe no Jimmy. Maybe no Bam.
But Adipo is going to want to.
Yes, and Marquise Morris and Omar Yurtseven going for 30 and 20.
Hungry players going at it tonight. And you're not going to have people that just want to close out the season.
Tonight you will have competitors. I got to tell you this, though, because I'm really debating whether to drive to Orlando for Sunday's season finale. My tentative starting lineup for the Heat in Orlando on Sunday is Javonte Smart, Michael Mulder, Haywood Highsmith, Udonis Haslem, and Omar Yurtseven. So I don't know if I really need to drive up for that, because that game will have no impact on standings whatsoever.
No, Ira, you need to drive up because, Saturday night at the Hard Rock in Orlando, I will be there. Dirty Honey's going to be there. All right. The Naked Gypsy Queen is opening up. They are an excellent young band, and Dirty Honey is maybe one of the most underrated young rock bands in the country. So I'm going to be in Orlando, not for Magic Heat. You got to be there for Dirty Honey, baby. So that's what you got to come up for. Let's rock
Dirty
and
Honey
roll.
sounds like something you run into in the club. And I'm sure if I tell Mrs. Winderman I'm going to go see Dirty Honey, she would definitely tell me I'm not going to Orlando. But you enjoy, my friend.
Hey, come on. You just got Zelda a couple of extra bucks. Let's go. Come on. Let's go.
Well, you know what? But I can sell the few extra bucks. But if I'm singing Dirty Honey, I'm going to take it all in singles. That's another story for another day.
No, it's not a strip club. It's a rock band, okay? Oh, by the way, no, but seriously, tonight, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch Oladipo play because I think we're going to watch a guy that is, I think he wants to send the final message, and he'll have the last two games to kind of remind Spo, just in case.
Absolutely, Big O.
Right?
Just like Toronto last Sunday when when Jimmy Butler didn't play, he didn't wind up playing on Tuesday because the Heat sort of got things in order. But I think he wants to know, hey, just in case of emergency, you can always break me open and I'll be there. He had 21 in Toronto. He was hitting threes. He had a dunk. And you know what? He knows his opportunities will be limited, and he's going back to free agency on July 1. So you want to create those moments. You want to create those memories. Same thing with Markieff Morris. The Lakers just cast him aside at the end of last season. He becomes a free agent also. I wrote about him this morning at suncentral.com. It was interesting. He told me, I'll be in the playoff rotation. I'm curious about that, whether he will or he won't. But you're right, Big O. The next two games could be similar to the story of this Heat season, when the Max Struses and the Caleb Martins and the Gabe Vincents and the guys you never expected to get stuff done still have a chance, one more chance to get stuff done. I agree.
All right. So he had, I believe, let me make sure I'm looking at it right. He did have 15 assists last night, but James Harden was 3 of 12, 1 of 4 from the field as Toronto defeated the Sixers 119 to 114. So what are they thinking in Philly now about all of this after all the different changes?
It was interesting because someone tweeted last night, so who really won the Nets Sixers trade after all? And Jimmy Butler's agent had the perfect answer. ESPN won. And that's about it. It gave them a talking point for a month, teams to follow. Look, Big O, I would put it this way. In the second round of the playoffs of the Heat advance, they're probably going to play one of three teams, either Milwaukee, Boston, or Philadelphia. If you were to rank those, your choice of who you would rather play, give me in order your preferences of those three. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's Philly, Boston, Milwaukee. Yes.
Right. So it's setting up like that for the Heat. Look, Joel Embiid's a great player, and the Heat do not have a Joel Embiid stopper. But we've seen playoff James Harden. And it's not the same player who's just loading up on points and doing what he wants. He's not a defender. For as much as you're talking about putting Tyler Hero and Duncan, Robinson in the washing machine defensively, you can do it the same on the other end. Even look at it this way. The game that the Sixers won in the most recent meeting, it was because of Maxey playing and Harden not playing, and Maxey loading up in the Heat in that fourth quarter. So that's the difference. So maybe this whole thing with James Harden is not as much the problem. Again, if I had to pick a team out of those three, I agree with you, Big O. I would rather play Philly than maybe Boston and then Milwaukee. Milwaukee still got a lot of stuff. And as much as it came down to the wire, they have Brook Lopez back. They have Pat Connaughton back. They have a solid team there together. So, yeah, the second round in both conferences will be intriguing, but especially in the Eastern Conference. I agree.
All right. So I'm not sure if you're doing any of this, but are you watching the Lakers series, what's it called? The Jeff Pearlman book, the
Showtime series.
Showtime series, yes.
Yeah, you know what? I am not, because of what they did to Jerry West. I've had a relationship with Jerry West over the years where he's done right by me, and he's proven to be a really good person, and he's given me moments of candor. And to treat him, someone who's dealt with depression his whole life and anxiety, as some sort of raving lunatic, that bothered me too much. And once that characterization started, I said, you know what? And you know this because you watch a lot of stuff also. I hate when they say something based on fiction, but not the true story. So they're casting it as the true story based on fiction. or the
Right.
fictional account of the true story. So there's too much sort of bending there.
In other words, it wasn't entertaining enough, so now we have to make it entertaining.
And if that wasn't entertaining enough, then you didn't know about it at all. I thought in book form and what Jeff Pearlman did is fine because it was just laid out in front of you. These are their stories. He didn't characterize. He just offered their comments, their quotes, the perspectives. Look, it's Hollywood, and I'm sure people are enjoying it, but it's like so much you watch on TV. When they talk about a dramatization of something, that lets them off the hook for anything real. I remember what those Lakers are like. They were a hell of a story, but Jerry West was a damn good person who cared and was not, in my experience, and I've had a bunch with him, a raving lunatic, and that really bothered me.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, they went over the top for him, dude. I mean, like, they made him look really, really – he's calmed down as the series goes on now.
Right.
It's like he's like – it's almost like coaching was hell for him, and it was like a rubber room for him, which, by the way, that's probably how a lot of great players have felt trying to coach, that they just can't deal with it because they can't understand that everybody can't do what they used to do.
And have the focus and have the same excellence and have the same drive. But you know what? At this time of year, I was watching my hockey game, my Rangers. I was watching 2 basketball games. This is really, this is the most wonderful time of the year because the games matter. And sometime in July or August, I might turn on a baseball game. But for now, I got plenty on my plate with hockey and basketball.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering if you watch it because being a basketball guy, and I was at first I thought it was going to be cheesy, and it is cheesy, but it's kind of one of those things that it's just you if you watch it, it's for pure entertainment purposes.
And I get it.
You just can't, because my wife looks at me and goes, "Is this true?" And I go, "It's all dramatized, so it's probably." Most of this is probably 80% blown out of proportion because the regular story was probably not that entertaining. You know what I mean?
No, I get all my basketball entertainment just dealing with Jimmy and Kyle when they're in the same press conference. So I can look at it through that lens and dealing with those 2 knuckleheads.
By the way, what's the deal with Spo? What's going on with Spo? How is he?
Today would be the last day of his quarantine. And so my thought is this. If he tests and his load numbers are low enough that he could still be positive, but low enough he could come back. But Big O, why would you take that chance? Why would you take any risk of infecting anyone? Tomorrow you're going to travel later in the day. You have a meaningless game in Orlando. Tomorrow's going to be really interesting. That plane is going to take off very light. They don't need to fuel that sucker too much because there aren't a lot of players going up to Orlando for that game, I am sure. So you know what? Maybe this will be the chance that Malik gets the coach or Caron Butler gets the coach. They'll go easy. There is nothing in it for the Heat. And someone asked me yesterday, because someone asked me, I have tickets to the game. I'm going down to the arena. What do you think? And I told him, the last thing I'd want to be is the coach who lets one of my players get injured in a meaningless basketball game. So you have to be smart, Big O, about it as well.
I'm with you there. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. Catch his work at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Always doing his thing. Ira, appreciate you. Have a fantastic weekend, my friend.
If the screen is bigger, I'd have my weird #1 foam finger, but I'll wear that next week instead. Thank you, Big O.
You got it. There you go. The great Ira Winderman. Good stuff as always. We appreciate him. All right. Let's see. That is your Acura Pembroke Pines, Miami Heat, and NBA report.